with liberty and justice for all. Please take your seats. Has the board had a chance to review the July 7th minutes as provided?
Yes.
Okay. I'll offer a motion to accept the July 7th minutes.
I second it.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First item on the agenda tonight, Village of Woodbury two-lot subdivision, public hearing for proposed two-lot subdivision of property located at 15 Penny Lane in Highland Mills. Said property is known as the Village of Woodbury tax map as section 219, block 5, lot 21.2. We do have the Part 2 EAF to review before we open the public hearing. I did not ask for reports from any of our consultants as nothing has changed on the application since it was first given to us. Does the board have the EAF Part 2 in front of them?
Yeah.
Okay, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No.
Sandy?
No.
No, I saw notes, that's why I was asking.
Oh, no.
You good with the EAF too?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Rick, I gotta make a motion on to accept it, right? Always one. I'll make a motion to accept the EAF Part 2 as provided by council.
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, like I said, tonight is the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
You also need to make a motion for the determination of significance as a negative declaration.
I'll offer a motion to make a significant determination as, wow, what he said.
Negative declaration.
I'll second that.
There you go, a neg deck on this. Second by Tommy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. You threw off my mojo, Rick.
I apologize.
It's okay. Please take notice that on Wednesday, the 21st of July, 2021, at 7:30 p.m. or as soon as thereafter, as the matter can be heard, a public hearing will be held at the Village of Woodbury Planning Board in Village Hall, 455 Route 32, Highland Mills, New York, 10930, to provide the opportunity for public to comment on proposed two-lot subdivision of property located at 15 Penny Lane in Highland Mills. Said property is owned by the Village of Woodbury, Section 219-5, 21.2, and this was published on Friday, July 16th. With that, I will go to the public. Anybody here wishes to speak on the two-lot subdivision for the Village of Woodbury? I'm going to awkwardly stare at each other for a minute. Anybody want to speak on the two-lot subdivision? Final call, public comment on the two-lot subdivision for the Village of Woodbury. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Notice, make a motion to, oh, actually, Sandy, you had a couple of
Yeah,
comments, right?
yes.
Rick, these are going to be potential conditions on the notice, on the resolution of approval, potentially? Okay.
I think at the last meeting, I had said that I wanted to make sure that the road always remained open for the highway department because they use that for the salt shed and other heavy equipment. And I want to make sure that there's never any obstructions or changes to the width of the road or the materials.
Hold on. If he had a PC, it would have been done by now.
The last part of what you said, Sandy, was no changes to the width or materials?
The width of the road, or, if there was a problem with, say, I don't know how old the road is, but if it broke apart or whatever, that the town couldn't come in and, replace it, what's there with something else that is, I believe that the highway department has always maintained that, so.
Yeah, the highway department has maintained it. It's clearly a village roadway, even though it's not dedicated as such.
Right.
But I hesitate to say no changes in the width, because it may be, the village may decide to go ahead and change the width of the road to the benefit of the village, may make it a little bit wider, may put in a shoulder. So a little, I mean, I can understand the roadway always remains open. Again, though, that should be subject to what the village wants to do with its roads.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that the highway department is protected.
Yeah, I mean, the highway department is protected because it's a village roadway, so the village and its highway department can do what it does to any other village roadway. They
Okay.
can modify it accordingly, which is why I hadn't put in there sort of restrictions that would essentially restrict the village and not the town.
Okay,
So, but I'll put in the resolution what you would want. But I just don't want to unduly burden the village with respect to this approval of the subdivision.
okay. The basic thing is that I just want it to always remain open, because for some reason, if the town was doing something with that parcel of land and they closed that road off, especially depending on the time of year, it could be a problem for the highway department.
Right, but realize this is a resolution of approval for the village, not for the town. So conditions that we put on there are conditions on the village with respect to what they can do, that are not somehow overridden by other law that the village has. So we have a village roadway for which the town doesn't have the ability to modify it under other laws, because it's a village roadway and they can't just modify somebody else's road.
Okay,
And by talking about that it's always remaining open, also, you know, again, you can dream up scenarios where the village may decide in the future to go ahead and close off the road for the benefit of the village. I think your concern is that the town doesn't have
right. because it's a-
any rights with respect to that, but by putting that in a resolution here, the more I had thought about it, is that it doesn't really restrict the town, because the town isn't bound by this subdivision. Subdivision is it's a subdivision of village property that the village then will be deeding over to the town.
Right, but doesn't the parcel, the road traverses the parcel that is being
Is
deeded over?
going to be deeded over, that's right.
Right. So just that, even that small piece of roadway, if that becomes the town,
No,
or, well,
it's just like, you know, the properties along a state road that some of the older deeds go to the center of the roadway, right? That doesn't mean that they have the ability, such as the Marriott application. Some of their property goes to the center of Route 32.
right,
That doesn't give them a right to do anything with respect to Route 32,
okay,
right? Because there is overriding law with respect to what the state has, its right in its own highways, just like the village has rights in its own roadways.
okay. All right. No, well, the last time I thought that you said that.
Yeah, I thought about it some more, and I can put it in if you want, but I think it actually ends up restricting the village more than the town.
Okay. If that's your legal advice, then okay,
Yes.
okay. That was the, you know. the
No,
only-
it's a very valid concern, and from a pure planning board point of view, I could see the perspective on that, is that's what you want, but you really don't have the ability to bind the town with respect to an application that they're not a party to.
Okay.
The property is going to go to them, but there's overriding law that gives all the powers to the village with respect to that roadway. And I'm just a little concerned that if we try to restrict the town's rights with respect to that, we may inadvertently go ahead and restrict the village's rights
Okay.
with respect to that.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the village application?
Nope.
Okay, I'll offer a motion that council drafts a resolution of approval.
Second?
Taken by Tommy. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda, Feldman, Southfield Falls ARB, review and discuss draft resolution for ARB, a proposed addition to an existing single-family dwelling. Said property is located 77 Southfield Falls, and is known as the Village of Woodbury's Tax Map, Section 255, Block 4, Lot 2. Jonathan, I think you had a memo for us, right?
Yes. You should have a memo from NPV dated July 16th. At your last meeting, you had asked that the attorney prepare a resolution, and we went through our records and we identified 5 items that we would like to be included in the resolution. I haven't seen a draft resolution of this to check to see that they're in there, but okay. And the 5 were, there was a note stating windows to be selected by other, and we wanted that to the applicant to specify what the specification was for the window, and to put a note on that it be not highly reflective or anti-reflective window film be applied. Also, we wanted the lot coverage corrected to reflect the increased paving higher than the 17.8% that it was before the driveway was widened. And the application should indicate that it's also in the cluster district, the CCOD, as well as R1A, and the bulk requirements chart on sheet S1, we wanted that corrected with the specific building height in that chart. And then a note added that there should be no vegetation clearing or removal of 8-inch plus caliber trees. That would assure that that requirement of ridge preservation was followed. So I'm just looking at the resolution now.
Change 2 to the July 16, 2020.
And I see I think, Rick, if you could just correct specific condition 2.
Right, to be July
reflect my
16th.
July 16th memo.
Yes.
That would take care of everything.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jonathan? Okay, so we have the motion of, we have a resolution of approval from council. Rick, it looks like we're missing the total square footage.
Yes, we couldn't find that. I was hoping that either Jonathan or Natalie could provide that.
Square footage of the home.
No, I think it's total square footage of the addition, right?
Yes.
Additions.
Well,
I mean, it's not essential for the resolution. I just thought
But
it'd be
it's-
helpful.
Yes. Uh-oh. Who can do math first?
we got two of your
There's a
best people
plan.
working on it, right?
I think the joke is, does a planner or an engineer unfold plans more quickly? There's a lot of professional integrity on the line here as to who gets to the finish line.
I don't know. If shoes come off, I'm out, though.
The site plan maybe has it. That's right. I remember asking for this. There's 3 segments, 3 additions,
Right.
228 square feet. Who's good at adding? Plus 387 square feet, plus 254 square feet. On the sheet A8 of the proposed.
What's your
Oh, boy. Updated April of 2021. Latest revision date.
I'm getting there.
Okay, maybe there's a later one. Hold on.
Yeah, 3.
839 or 879?
I have 839. I hear 228, 350, 387.
Let me try this one.
Yeah.
This one's up to the June 15th.
Yeah, this one doesn't have numbers on it.
Yeah, see, 294.
Oh, this one. Okay, but they have the same revision dates. But this one, you see what I'm saying? Oh, all right, I got it. This one was stamped on June 15th, so it's newer. I'm sorry, so it's 294,
29. Now we're doing different numbers?
391, and 130, and that does not include the decks. 130, 391, and 294.
391, you said?
Yeah,
So it's 815 square feet without.
of additions, plus 2 decks and a driveway addition.
I think the square footage we're concerned about is livable space. Okay, so 815 square feet.
Right.
32, okay, good. All right, so Rick's got that.
Sorry about the confusion, the revision date list is the same on both sets.
It's all right. Okay. So specific conditions. All new windows shall be constructed of non-reflective material. And number 2 is prior to the signing of the plans, the applicant shall comply with the memorandum of the village planner dated July 16th, 2021 to the satisfaction of the village planner. Any questions or comments, concerns with those specific conditions? No? Okay, I'll offer a motion to approve the resolution of approval with the updated square footage and the 2 specific conditions.
I'll second.
Second by Tommy. All in favor? Sorry, aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Woodbury Fresh. Review and discuss site plan, special permit, and ARB for proposed conversion of 2 existing retail spaces into a specialty supermarket. Said property is located within the Woodbury Center at 37 Center Drive in Central Valley and is known as the Village of Woodbury, Tax Map Section 235, Block 2, Lot 1, Lot 12. Good evening. There's a little button and you should get a green light. Hold it and you'll get a green light on the...
Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Stosh Zamonsky from ADG Architects. We're representing the applicant, along with Walt Lippman and Joe Haspel, the engineer and attorney, and Mel Fryer. He's the owner's property manager. This project is proposing to go into the existing Woodbury Center shopping center in the 2 spaces that are currently occupied by Forever 21 and the Lenox store, if you're familiar with the plaza. It's a grocery store, a little bit higher end, does have some food prep in it as well. They're looking to add about 1,800 square feet in the rear for some extra loading docks and an extra compactor. And we use the existing loading docks that are here for box trucks and vans, and then these 2 loading docks as well for tractor trailer deliveries. It's a 30,400 square foot existing space with the 2 stores that are there right now. They are proposing to also add cart storage at the front, which is not currently existing there, have that covered, as well as a covered area on the left side of the building for people coming and going, so they're sheltered from the weather as well. The existing the existing two signs will be replaced by a single sign for the Woodbury Fresh on the front facade of the building as well. The front facade right now is the Forever 21 sign that's here. That single sign will be replaced by the Woodbury Fresh. When you're looking at the front facade, this area on the right side will have the covered cart parking, or excuse me, shopping cart parking. And then this has we're proposing to have the additional covered area on the left side for people waiting, coming and going to be covered. As part of this, they're also requesting to change the sign pylons out front to now include the Woodbury Fresh sign on the one side sign pylon as well.
So you're talking about adding to the small pylon and towards the rear?
Not adding, just replacing. Yeah.
He is a Forever.
Gonna go underneath all of
Right, but there's nothing there now, it's just open space, right?
It would replace the Forever 21 sign. And it's only the
Is
one
there
sign
Forever
pylon, it's
21
not
on there?
It was the front one, I don't know about the back.
Yeah, the one in the rear, I don't think there is a sign on that one.
Yeah, this is the side pylon.
Right.
Right here, and that's where the Woodbury Fresh would go. This one,
Okay,
that's the front. And then, I'm sorry, this is the new main front pylon. Here has the Woodbury Fresh, it's the Forever 21 on that as well.
Okay.
So it
Thank
is
you.
both sides. We had received the comment letters from NPV and H2M as well. I don't know if you'd like to walk through those comments.
We're gonna, after your presentation, we'll go through the consultants and we'll go through.
Okay. So that's it. I don't know if you want to walk through the board's questions. Or...
Okay, we'll go to questions for the applicant, or you wanna go to Natalie and Pete
Is
first?
your store independent store, or is it part of a chain?
It's an independent store.
Okay.
do you have anything?
Not yet.
I see on that one.
The floor
In the front,
plan.
it says 40 feet for home deliveries. So, like by the checkouts?
Yep.
So, do you plan on doing
There's,
that? Is,
as an option, there's, some chance with how the market's changed for supermarkets that there will be some home deliveries in vans or even possibly pickups.
so would they be made by independent contractors, or would they be employed by Woodbury Fresh and have Woodbury Fresh vehicles?
I don't know if they would have Woodbury Fresh vehicles, but they would be employed by Woodbury Fresh.
Okay.
Lab-
I guess what I'm
labeled.
getting at is, as far as parking, where those vehicles would be parked.
Okay. We can certainly respond to that. We'll check with the owner and see how they would prefer. I mean, there's plenty of parking on the site as well.
Right, I just, as far as total number, like if it becomes a bigger demand, are you gonna have 5 trucks there? Are you gonna have 10 trucks there?
Yeah.
Well, it's the valid question too, because it's gonna be cars, like, if it's Instacart, it's people in their minivans and their cars. If it's certain delivery services in the area, it's vans and box trucks.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna add vans and box trucks traffic to, then that's why we're
Yeah.
asking.
So I think what we'll do is we'll check with the owner. We'll get an understanding of exactly what they anticipate, and we'll respond to that in our next response.
And then also with the shopping carts themselves, like Aldi's doesn't necessarily have to go get theirs because you have to pay to get there, and you get your quarter back when you bring the cart back. How is this gonna operate?
So they have a full-time employee that they will have retrieving carts and restacking if they're left in the parking lot.
Okay.
So would you have a carousel or area for the carts to be collected? In the parking lot?
I'm sorry, what's that?
In the parking lot, would there be areas where the carts would be collected?
We're not currently proposing that because we have the full-time employee. What we're anticipating is that this cart storage area will be maintained by that employee.
Okay.
Very,
That's all I have right now, thanks.
all right. Can I go to Natalie or?
Just for Jen.
Right. Good, yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Just move a little closer. So, as the applicant described, this is their first appearance before you, and they already went over the dimensions of the proposed supermarket, including the 1,800 square foot addition. There will also be the loading dock area and proposed mezzanine spaces within the supermarket, modifications to the wall signs and the pylon panels. One of our comments had requested a detailed site plan showing any modifications to the utilities, and the site plan should be at an appropriate scale and include a bulk table that confirms coverage calculations and adequate setbacks, especially with the addition of the loading dock area. The plan also proposes where the cart storage areas are going to be located to remove some landscaped islands, so we'd like to see how that affects the coverage, and the site plan should demonstrate that area. What else did I have? Also in the back of the site where the loading area is proposed, it does seem to encroach on the access for ESOs as well as deliveries. So we're requesting a turning movement plan be provided with, the appropriate scale truck for the ESOs and then delivery trucks. And then that turning movement plan should also demonstrate access into the loading areas for whatever truck is proposed for each bay. With respect to parking, during your review of Aldi's, there was a detailed parking analysis that was prepared. Aldi's actually, with their modifications to the building, had reduced the available parking by approximately 13 spaces, which prompted the requirement for the parking analysis. During the preparation of that study, it demonstrated that there were more than double the parking needs or parking availability than the needs for the site. So it's our opinion that additional analysis may not be warranted. However, if you'd like additional confirmation, you could always refer it to Colliers for their opinion as well. And in that referral, you could ask for a confirmation of adequate movement and, if a turning traffic circulation analysis would be necessary. For water and sewer, the utilities are going to be provided by Harriman for water and Orange County Sewer District for sewer. We do think that the projected demand should still be calculated and shown on the plan, and also typical with how you handled Aldi's, a will serve letter should be requested by the applicant. In some cases, it's difficult to get a response, but the site is obviously already currently served by those utilities. It would be a matter of the applicant at least demonstrating a good faith effort to contact these utilities. We would also like the applicant to confirm any modifications to grading and drainage, although there appear to be none. The only thing that we noticed was the elevation plans showed a modest change in the grading along the front of the building where there was a slope to none. So if it's just a revision to the elevations, that's fine. On ARB, we had some comments, but they were minimal, just confirmation that the existing materials and colors are to remain the same. The new doors should be non-reflective. The one thing I did want to talk about with respect to signage is we did speak to the building inspector regarding what the wall area should be to calculate the allowable sign area, and it looks like the applicant is proposing something that is larger than what would be permitted. We assume that adjustments could be made to the size so that...
We're going to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
We're going to adjust the sign so that it matches the exact square footage of the sign that's there.
Okay, great. So we'll look forward to receiving that. We assume they don't want to go for a variance for that. We already discussed the pylon signs, so I think, as long as the panels are the same size as the existing, one thing we did note was the actual text itself. We would recommend the planning board review that in comparison to the white space around it and just decide if that, looks appropriate compared to the other panels that are proposed. On the floor plans, we had a couple of comments on egress to the mezzanine area in the front. We believe a second access would be required, or a second stairwell for accessing that space, so the applicant should look into that. We also had a question about a sink that was on the exterior of the men's room, whether or not, that was intended to be in the envelope. The conference spaces in the mezzanine area as part of your special permit consideration, you may wish to have the applicant confirm that that's going to be used for employees only. You discussed the cart corrals, and, if you guys have any questions for us on that, that's okay. Just let me know. And then just our final comments were just a confirmation on screening of rooftop equipment, refuse collection areas, and adequate access to the adjacent loading spaces for the other storefronts. Do you have any questions? I would be happy-
Well, it's actually for both of you. The generator on the roof, is it going to be natural gas or diesel?
Natural gas.
Okay, like other applicants, we're going to ask you to provide the specs on it as far as what kind of sound enclosure and attenuation is going to be around it. Also, how is it going to be scheduled for testing, and how often it's going to be tested for noise compliance. I see there's eight, I think it's 8 loading docks or 8 loading bays, one of them for the garbage, one of them's for the garbage. All these uses centralized distribution, being this is an independent store. Are we expecting 52-foot trucks on a daily basis? Ollie's has a very specific delivery schedule. They have 2 trucks or 3 trucks a week, a Coke truck, and a milk truck, like twice a week. So if this is going to be a full-fledged store that's independent, I presume you're not using centralized distribution, so we're going to have all sorts of different vendors coming in, from cookies and cakes to, so we're going to want to see what kind of traffic that's going to add to the site, and then we're going to want to see maneuverability in the rear that a 52-foot trailer will be able to make it with the new base.
Yeah. Can I address that just quickly? 'Cause
Go ahead.
we did do some preliminary designs in coordination with MJ Engineering. This drawing was not submitted as part of the package.
I hate to be a pain. If you can hold the mic, it's so Claudia, our scribe, can hear you, or else.
Okay. This is the existing front of the building right now, and this is the rear here, where we have the addition and that bump out for those additional loading bays. This dark area here you're seeing, this is a fire truck. What's the actual type of that fire truck? It's the one with the ladder on it, right?
Yeah, it's not, our engineer's office will give you the specifics for the truck that we used here.
Okay.
So that's what you'll have to run that through to see if that fits.
Yeah, this is kind of our first pass. Again, just the preliminary. We're going to end up losing about 2 parking spaces in the back to make sure we still have that clearance for the fire apparatus to get through here. So we have started to run that. Again, this was just kind of our first pass to make sure we're interpreting, the previous site plan approval, the use type, the same way that the board is. And
Yeah, well, and it's good because we're going to throw a lot of questions at you for your next submission, so that we don't go back and forth.
Yeah.
And why I'm thinking, ShopRite and them, they tend to keep trailers overnight for a couple days. They'll use trailers as excess storage. Is there any plans to do that here? Because right now, none of those stores, they get deliveries and everything is gone by the close of business.
yeah, there is no intention of storing trailers here.
Okay. Before we go to
Natalie, you had a comment about the men's restroom where the sink is outside the area.
Yes.
I was wondering why that's so. Why was it designed that way instead of having inside the bathroom?
Yeah, so just like for the planning board, this was kind of our first pass at putting all these pieces together to see if it worked for the applicant and then see if it worked for the planning board. We have not really kind of gone in and honed down this design and gone through, what would be the health department review and everything else to get all those pieces together. So in the end, that'll probably end up in the space, or, we'll figure out the best way to make it work.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Natalie?
Natalie?
For Natalie, before we go
Oh.
to Jonathan? Mark thought about her report.
Yeah. Natalie, on the use, You had said, even with the addition of some food preparation, we believe this opinion is relevant to this application as far as the usage. With this prepared food, are you going to have any kind of seating there that's going to change to be more like restaurant style? Or?
No.
No seating or anything?
No, it's, like you go to a deli counter and they have some pasta salad or something. It's that type of thing where.
Hot foods, things like that, too?
Yeah, some prepared foods that are.
Okay, so
prepared
no
there.
eat-in?
No.
Okay.
So it'd be similar to like a ShopRite or a Stop and Shop where they prepare food?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have anything for Natalie? No, okay. Anything else for Natalie before we go to Jonathan? The man behind the plan. He's kind of stuck behind the.
Okay, and I will try not to be redundant. Many of the things in our memo Natalie touched on already. But if you could just correct the ARB application and put in more details and include a short EAF form for your next submission. The landscaping, it was a little unclear. It looks like some things are going to happen in front of Forever 21 and Lennox that are going to change maybe some of the plantings that are there. So we'd like to see a specific landscape plan. And the code calls for a 5-foot deep landscape bed along the front of the building. So you should look at what is approved and installed at those two spaces and then show what you're going to do instead. Lighting, I believe you were going to, the sign letters were going to be backlit, and then there might be some lighting in the front near the cart area or whatever. And if you could just include lighting details on that with the fixture details and the luminaires and so forth. It is the site subject to architectural review. I don't think the board would have a big problem because really nothing's changing other than the signage. And if they go through the exercise of reducing the signs the way it was before, it'll just be a matter of whether they meet the standard for colors and excessive similarity or dissimilarity. And it doesn't appear to be an issue architecturally since the building's not changing hardly at all except for the dock in the back. When we were thinking about this for seeker, the outside of the building isn't expanding except for the dock, but there is over 5,000 square feet of interior space. But we will leave the seeker recommendations to the attorney.
Jonathan, we have nothing for requirement for cart corrals?
Do we have a requirement for like cart caddies?
Yeah, cart corrals.
Yeah, where you, no, I don't believe we do. And some places operate with them and some places operate without them. I don't know about your family, but I go to we go to like 3 or 4 different grocery stores because we buy this over here and buy that over there. And some of the places you have cart caddies, some don't. It seems to be, there doesn't seem to be a standard in the industry, and I don't think there's any codes regarding the cart caddies.
I just didn't know if we required them or not, so. No, we don't, or no?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, I
No,
don't believe
they're
so.
not required.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
Short
code
answer,
about
short
that.
answer, not required.
Nodding over here, sorry.
Not required.
Questions for Jonathan? Any other questions for the applicant? Anything else we want to see them explain or put on if they go forward to the next submission or anything like that?
Well, just all the,
Well, other than what we just spoke about and our consultant's comments, anything pop in anybody's head that we'd like to see them provide before they resubmit? No?
Understanding that, there may be an elimination of parking spaces and the circulation around the site, would you like to have Collier's comment on this the next time? Just so I can make a note in my files that we discuss it with them?
I think we definitely need to discuss it with them. I think we need to look at it too, once the applicant provides the number of deliveries, trips, and so I don't want to go, yes, it needs to go to him. I
Yes,
just don't,
okay.
let's just time it right with all the
Right.
information.
Sounds good.
So the short answer is yes. I'm talking like Rick now.
There's a danger.
We could do the 239 referral, right?
Need a 239 referral. As to seeker, other than the, excuse me, the new loading docks, it would be a type 2 action for a reuse of an existing facility. And if the docks are less than 4,000 square feet, it would still be a type 2. So I don't know how large the loading docks would be.
1,400 square feet.
Total? Okay, then my recommendation is it's a type 2 action under seeker.
So I'll make a motion to type this as a type 2 action under secret.
I second it.
Second, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And then make a motion to authorize our engineer for the 239 referral. Please. Motion, second? Oh, duh. Wow. It's like my first meeting tonight. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay. So that's this one. So you got a little bit of homework to do on
Yeah.
that before you come back.
Yeah, actually, it's, I think the comments are great, and it just kind of reassures us that we're on the same page as the planning board, I think, in the reuse of the building and the addition.
I think everybody's fresh because we just got a, I didn't mean to do that, because we just got a supermarket, so I think we've gone through it
Yeah,
relatively.
yeah, it helps, especially the traffic study.
I like it, it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit of a different animal because of how they do things there.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think any grocery store is quite as precise as Aldi's. I mean, the way that they operate is pretty interesting.
They got their stuff
They
down.
do, yeah.
Okay, next item is Ferrier Woodbury Shops. Review and discuss site plan, special permit, and ARB for proposed conversion of a large retail space, formerly Modell's, internally subdivided into multiple boutique stores. Said property is located at 23 Center Drive in the Central Valley and is known in the Village of Woodbury tax maps, Section 225, Block 2, Lot 1.2. Hello, you're back.
Okay. Same team, same shopping center locations at Woodbury Center. It's owned and managed by Woodbury Center Partners LLC. This application is for small shops to be placed inside of an existing retail space, which is the existing Modell's, retail space. The intention is that these would be smaller, locally owned shops, a variety of different shops. No food or services would be offered in here.
You said no food or service, no
Excuse me,
food.
No services, yeah, it's all retail.
Okay.
Excuse me. It's an existing 18,958 square foot space. That's Modell's. All of the shops will be permanently separated with walls, permanent walls that go toward the ceiling. Center aisle, or center hallway, excuse me, that leads to the rear shops. We're adding a few, 3, in fact, double doors at the rear to aid in deliveries. We're also looking to add a window in the front facade of the building. I'll show you those now. Of course, this is the front rendering. This is the sign in the center above the center doors. That'll be placed where the existing Modell sign is. It says Woodbury Shops. There's a new window going in on the right side of the facade.
Just grab this.
And the 3 double doors are at the rear of the facility here, leading in to the space.
But those would strictly be delivery. Those wouldn't be rear entrances into the shop, correct?
No, and they will be for egress as well.
Okay.
To meet egress. No additional square footage is proposed. Again, we did receive the review letters from NPV and HTM 2M. I don't know if you want to walk through the comments now, or
Yeah, we'll
any
go.
questions on the project?
Natalie?
Okay, so just similar to the prior application, this is obviously their first appearance before you. We found that the application is a little unusual. Obviously, something like this isn't unheard of. You know, we're all familiar with certain spaces that have been transformed into like, you know, individual, either, you know, I've seen things like antique stores, right, where there's like individual sections for antiques, and in discussion with others in our office, you know, they've seen spaces like this divided into, you know, when there's a barber area and then there's a sunglasses hut and things like that. So a lot of our memo had some questions just to sort of flush out what the applicant's intent was, and so that you could analyze how the special permit use would operate within this space, and if there were any you know, special conditions on that that would be appropriate. Obviously, safety and egress is a big concern. You know, we think that this plan should be referred to the ESOs, and we think that they're going to have questions about maneuvering through the space and then identifying individual spaces from the overall area. We had some questions about the way doors open and if there was adequate access. We had questions about the delivery area, and sort of access to that loading dock is sort of disconnected from some of the individual stores where there's obviously what appears to be a service corridor for employees accessing the shops to the west or the east. So some of those questions, I think, you know, can be fleshed out and probably best maybe addressed with a narrative from the applicant, you know, going through each of those in detail, but obviously we can discuss them here now too. So there do seem to be limited site plan issues, you know, with the exception of the additional doors at the rear and window at the front of the building. There don't seem to be any changes to the site plan, although we've requested confirmation on utilities and any changes that might be proposed. Similar to the prior application, we'd like to see, you know, the will serve letters solicited from those utility companies and demonstration of an adequate attempt to get those. There is a restroom area shown on the floor plans, but nothing else seems to be really changing. But we'd like to see the water and sewer demand estimates provided. We didn't see anything on the plan regarding refuse disposal or, you know, handling of that. So just a discussion from the applicant if there's existing dumpsters on site that they'll be using, or if they're proposing anything that needs to be flushed out. We had questions about the storage within the space and in the individual shops. Obviously, what's shown on the plan are all open areas for each store, but, you know, is there proposed storage? You know, things like that need to be addressed and flushed out, because again, when it comes to ESOs and access in the common space, it needs to be clear and free for easy movement throughout. Same comments mostly on the signage, just, you know, with the size and working that out with respect to the wall area and the sign area that's permitted. We didn't take any exception to the pylon panels. Same question about deliveries. Sort of a schedule for deliveries would be helpful in understanding whether or not there's adequate access for those trucks to access. I think there's only one loading dock for this.
Yeah, it would be all small deliveries too. I don't think there would be large trucks pulling into the back of this, and any of the deliveries would be handled and stored inside of each of the individual shops.
Okay, so those people delivering then would obviously have to traverse through maybe other stores or even the common area to access the
common
smaller
area,
boutiques.
Hand truck.
Right. What else did I have on that? Oh, there is a corridor, we'll say if you're looking at the plan to the left, where certain stores open up into a common space that's not identified. Is that like a common area for the center, or?
Yes, and that'll be where each shop has its signs facing, and people can walk and get to the different shops from that center
Oh,
corridor.
actually, maybe I'm confusing you. There's, it's at the rear of the building. It's an exit where one of the doors are proposed, but two of the shops open into a common space
This side or,
on the left. So those three doors to the left, numbers off the top of my head. It's space one.
it's these three.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that area?
That's an existing space. I think it's an existing corridor in the, adjacent to the existing retail space that's over there.
Okay, and it's maybe, is it part of the previous Modell space, or is it separate?
It's separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of understanding how that space works with other shops would be helpful. And,
Okay, yeah, we can certainly clear that up. in
Because you are
response.
proposing a door, I think, at
Yeah,
that
there's
location.
three there.
Okay.
Yep.
We had question, okay, so the rest of the things that I'd like to just sort of discuss are just questions on the space itself. So the smaller stores are like 340 square feet, it's relatively small. I mean, what would you envision being sold there?
Again, this was kind of the first pass based on what the market's driving right now. I mean, as we all know, it's kind of going from the big box stores to these smaller boutique stores, which is what this is. I think, now that we have some understanding that the planning board understands our direction, I think we're headed the same way. I think we're going to hardline this a little bit better with the owner and try to figure out the floor plan a little bit more clearly.
Okay.
And some of those may be combined or.
Sure. Okay. Some of the other questions, I'll just go through them then, and, with another submission, or if the planning board has any specific questions, we can talk about them. We wanted to understand whether or not the boutiques were going to be pop-up stores, or at least for a certain period of time,
Can I address that quick, if you don't mind?
as long as it's okay with the planning board.
The overall space is going to continue to be owned by the property owner, and they're going to sublease these individual spaces with long-term leases. They're not intended to be pop-up or
Okay.
quick shops.
So we discussed the storage. You mentioned that the wall partitions will be permanent. There were some spaces shown with a dotted line throughout them. I'm not sure if that was intended to be, indicative of a removable wall or,
Yeah, potential, either they could lease one space or both of them together.
okay. Is there any security proposed for these spaces? Will each individual space be lockable? Again, we wondered if the eastern corridor was for employees only, which it appears to be. That would be the way it would function. Are the rear exits to function for employees only or under just emergency conditions? Removable. The showroom 6 didn't seem to have, it didn't have a door to the main corridor. I think it only had access to the service corridor, so we questioned that and whether or not if a door was there, if it would impede access in that space. There were no reservations of space for utility closets, mechanical, or electrical rooms or others, so just wanted to flush that out. And again, we think that this plan, the input from the ESOs would be helpful, and that's all we have unless you have any questions.
You said these are going to be regular sheetrock studded sheetrock closed lockable doors?
Yes.
Okay. Like Rick or Natalie, the original site plan approval, is there a list of services that are allowed in that quarter? Like, is personal service allowed in there?
As I understand it, what they are asking for and what is a permitted use is retail use. And as long as they stick with retail uses, then that will be permitted. So if it's being approved for retail use, then personal services will not be allowed. So again, the applicant drives what is being requested and you react to that. So far, they have said it's going to be retail, and that's what it would be approved for, and they will not be able to put something in there that's other than retail.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I wanted to make sure because I don't know I wasn't here for the original approval of Woodbury Center, so I don't know what was allowed in that original resolution.
I could look it up.
And what that really means for the zoning code is, and you should explain this to the owner, if he wanted to have a tanning salon or a barber shop or a dog groomer, all of a sudden that would kick it into the personal services, and then that would mean that you'd have to look at the different parking requirements and analyze different things, and then look at the original approval and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that if it really is just retail, according to our definition, it would be much more straightforward.
And that is all they're looking to do is retail in these spaces.
And certainly if you wanted to have a restaurant or pizzeria or something, that'd be like, oh my God. So, yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for Natalie? No? Questions
Now,
for
for
Natalie?
the applicant, what kind of signage are you planning as far as advertising the individual?
It'll all be on the inside.
Everything's gonna be on the inside?
They'll have the one main sign that says the Woodbury shops, and then inside, they'll have signs in front of the stores.
I do have a question for the applicant as well.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I know this has nothing to do with our code, but just to stop what could be some confusion, right across the street, it's going to be the shops at Woodbury. So, I mean, I just was wondering, would the applicant be amicable as far as maybe changing it to like Woodbury boutiques or something that would stop confusion? Because I think that's really going to be confusing for people right across the street from each other, people not from the area. You know, Woodbury shops at Woodbury. It's so interchangeable that I think it's going to be confusing. And when
Yeah.
you're talking about 3 lanes of traffic coming in different directions and
Oops, there it is.
not wanting to know, or not really knowing where they're going, and somebody sees a sign there and somebody sees a sign there, and so.
Yeah,
That-
absolutely. I'll bring it back to the owner. You know,
Okay.
it's reasonable.
Sandy, it's an excellent point. But it's something, you don't need to change this application. This application can be anything,
Right.
because the
Right.
application really doesn't dictate what it's going to be called afterwards. And by the same token, the shops at Woodbury may not be called shops at Woodbury when they actually set up and start putting up signage and everything else. They may decide to change the name to something else. But I think it's a great piece of advice to go ahead and contact the applicant on that and try to work out between the two of you as to what each of you is going to be called, so that there isn't confusion, because
Yeah.
that will be a lot of confusion, especially given the proximity of the two developments.
And just, one other question. As far as the operating hours, is it going to be the same operating hours for the entire building, or will each shop have different operating hours?
It'll be dictated by the space. They'll determine the operating hours for the individual shops. Each shop will not have different times. It'll be one time for everyone to
For
open
the
and
building?
close. Yes.
For the entire building?
Yeah, well, not the whole building, but the space, the Model space. Because the whole building is all the different shops.
Okay, no, I meant that entire space will have one set of operating hours?
Right.
Okay,
Any other questions?
no.
All right, Jonathan?
Sure. Once again, with Natalie's thoroughness, it covered an awful lot of what we had reviewed as well. But landscaping, once again, it's similar to the other application. We'd be looking for what removals would be happening with Modell's landscaping, what you're going to put in, and the 5-foot deep landscape bed requirement, lighting, details on any lighting at the front of the store, and the sign lighting. We talked about the signage size, so that we don't have to go over that again, and the potential personal service uses, we discussed that. In terms of architectural review, given that the exterior building facade really isn't changing and it's just a sign switch out, and there's no real architectural changes to any of the materials, that makes the analysis of ARB simple, and with seeker, since there's no changes in square footage whatsoever. In fact, some of the retail floor space is being replaced by access corridors to get to different shops. It's probably be somewhat of a small decrease in the retail floor area for display of goods. So we would think that and I would think Rick would agree to be a type 2. And those are our comments.
I have one, I guess it's not a question, concern. It's either for Jonathan or Natalie, I'm not sure which one of you would opine on this. There's no requirements for the size of the restrooms based on the space, because, like Modell's was, you would have it's one store and a set number of employees. In this space, you're gonna have 10 different shops with potentially at least 1 or 2 employees and plus customers. So, it seems like it's pretty small.
My understanding of restroom codes is a lot of the hard requirements for restrooms are keyed to the serving of food and whether you have to have separate men's and women's rooms, whether you serve alcohol or not. But with retail spaces and with bathrooms for customers, I don't believe anything is required. That's why sometimes if you go to a shoe store or and you have to go to the bathroom, they may or may not have a public bathroom.
Can I just address it really quick? Again, this was just kind of our first pass with the client, trying to figure out, hey, we can get this space to work. Now that we have some understanding from the planning board, we'll start to go in and hardline this. And the bathroom quantities, how many urinals and stalls there are, is all driven by the building code, and we would certainly comply with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and the retail managers don't want their employees to have to lock up the store to go to the bathroom. So usually something reasonable tends to get worked out on its own without a high degree of regulation.
Well, it parlays because they still have to do the water demand. So, if we're going to leave it as one general bathroom, or is it each store going to end up with its own private bathroom and a tube? To your point.
Well, the water demand will be keyed to the number of people. So it's sort of like if you have a house and you have 4 bedrooms, the water demand's based on the number of bedrooms, not the number. You could have 3 bathrooms in the house, 1 bathroom in the house, it'd be the same water demand. Just you'd use that 1 toilet 3 times as much as if you had 3 toilets, with the same number of people.
Okay.
Jonathan, also, as far as, I know parking is determined by the size of the building. When I say the building, and the use.
Well, it's the square footage of the uses according to the parking table.
Right. But, so, say Modell's had 6 employees on at the same time, so that's 6 cars. But if you're talking about 14 different stores that could possibly have two employees, so now you're talking about 28. So that doesn't affect the parking at all because it just goes by the square footage of the entire space?
Yes.
And the use?
Well, I take that back. There are certain uses in the chart that have a square footage requirement and a per employee requirement. I would have to check out the chart to see what it says for retail. I don't recall that retail had a separate allotment for employees. I can look that up for you.
I can also look it up, and it's, as Jonathan suggested, there are, it depends on the use and the requirements in the chart. So it would either be by retail space and plus employees or just retail only.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the requirements have both components, some don't.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
while you're talking, I'll look that up.
Any other questions for Jonathan?
I don't know, Natalie, did you ask the question whether there was going to be like a general manager taking care of the things, like the fire alarm and hallway maintenance and so forth?
Yes, we posed the question in our memo, and I believe the applicant responded that that's true, that there is one owner manager of the space, but
Yeah,
that'll be confirmed,
that's
I think,
correct.
in a narrative response too.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear that before.
The answer to your question, Sandy, is on the off-street parking chart. for retail sales, one for each 200 square feet of gross floor area. So you'd look at the gross floor area, which is the whole place,
Okay.
and that's how many parking spaces will be required. You divide by 200, and that's that. And the hidden wisdom of the chart is that that would include employees and as many people, because it's going by gross area. It's not keyed to floor area of the retail, or it's not keyed to individual retail uses.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns?
Just one, you said the hours of operation is the same for everyone?
Yeah, it'll be dictated by the one space. Everyone will operate on the same hours.
And then there is a maintenance person on site or not on site?
Yeah, I mean, the entire facility is already maintained by the owners, the outside and some of the inside. And they're going to
So-
do the same thing for this space as well.
So who locks the door at the end of the day?
The manager.
So, and that person is not on site
I
in this space here?
I don't know. I think we'll double check with the owner how they intend to.
Yeah, I'm just curious how that works, because we never had anything like this.
Yeah. We'll respond in the narrative for
Yeah,
the,
okay.
how the doors are locked and the facilities maintained.
Also, there are some issues with the SBL throughout the application. It's not consistent. So just,
Thank you.
we do make a motion due to 239 referral. Have our engineer do the 239 referral. I'll make a motion to have the
I'll
engineer.
second.
Second by Sandy. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay, and then also make a motion to have H2M refer this to ESOs for their input.
I'll second.
By Tommy, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And type 2 under, make a motion to classify this as a type 2 action under secret.
Oh, we don't have to, I thought we had to find out more. No?
No, I
Oh, okay.
don't think so, right, Rick?
No, you have enough information. This is actually less of an impact from Seeker's point of view because it only has one dock, I think, right? One loading dock?
Yeah, it's the existing.
Yeah. Oh, the existing one? Yeah. So it's just a type 2 because it's reuse of an existing commercial facility.
I'll second.
Second by Sandy, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead.
I only have one other comment, and that was just to underscore with respect to what was brought up earlier on truck use. That's going to need to be specified, and it'll be baked into the resolution. So you need to look at what limitations you're willing to live with respect to truck use, size, frequency, similar to what we talked about in the prior application, because you'll be limited in that. So you need to be able to live with that and realize that the board will consider those impacts and then make their final decision. But once that's made, unless you come back for an amendment, that's what you're going to have to live with. So it will have to be specified as a type and frequency of truck use.
We will specify that as all part of that narrative as well.
Good.
Building use and truck.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
I did have one other question.
Go ahead.
Because it goes back and forth, is the boutique shops, is it 23 or 37 center? Because it's, in the paperwork, it goes back and forth between 23 and 37. 37 was all for fresh,
Yeah, the 37.
Right.
Fresh.
Yeah,
so this is
37
23.
I don't know, can I double check that before?
Just on the next submission, because she's going to hold you to it.
Yeah.
Only
that's why I
because the
wanna check.
paperwork goes back and forth in this application, so
Yeah.
we just want to make sure that it's, continuity all
We
the way.
will clarify that.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Do you have any other questions for us? You pretty clear what you need to do before you?
No, I appreciate the comments. I think, again, they're all pretty clear. It's nice to know that we're all on the same page and move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was raised a couple of times, just the hours of operation. If they're not already, they should be listed on the plan.
Everybody good? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
No other items on the agenda. I'll offer a motion to close.
Second that motion.
Second by Tommy. Anybody want to stay? All in favor?
Aye.